I hear a lot of parents worry about socialization, and it's one of the questions that usually pops up in homeschooling or unschooling contexts. Um, Many people have asked me too, but how's your child going to socialize if you only keep him at home? And I think that there's so many misunderstandings around this topic. First of all, beginning with school, because many people do think that in school their children will socialize and that they will develop socializing skills that they might not develop in other contexts, because there's this idea and this myth that we need to socialize with people our own age. Like as if we would automatically get along just because we share the age. And it doesn't work like that for kids, and it definitely doesn't work like that for adults. Most of my friends are 10 or 20 years older than me, or 10 to 20 years younger than me. And school has a really artificial way of dividing kids by age instead of affinity or interests. Plus, there is another really, really important factor here. In conventional schools, there is nothing on the agenda, there is nothing in the curriculum about socialization. Nothing. It's all about knowledge and learning as much as we can, and at the same time and whenever the curriculum dictates. And so this idea that kids learn socializing skills in school is wrong. It's not true. Since the focus in schools isn't on socialization but rather on memorization and learning knowledge as much as possible, kids socialize in a little bit, I would say, dysfunctional ways, because there is no one there to teach them how to be kind, how to share, how to listen, how to express one's needs. No one is doing that, and many times, unfortunately, even the teacher is a bully. And I've seen that since I'm a teacher myself. I have seen teachers bullying kids, and I remember from being a kid myself that there were some teachers that were bullies, and that is what you learn at school. You learn how to bully others, or just, be with a bully in order for yourself not to be bullied. You don't learn how to be a really sweet and kind and loving human being. And so when we talk about free learning, self-directed education, unschooling, homeschooling, there is this worry that our kids won't have enough friends, because if all the other friends go to school, then whenever are they going to hang out with other people? And we kind of miss the point that you don't need always to have people your same age in order to socialize. Some kids definitely do better with an age difference. Some kids just prefer older kids, or actually adults. Some kids are very much introverts, and it can be really, really hard for some kids to socialize, in the sense that, or being thrown into a context where there are too many people, because they're too sensitive. They might be highly sensitive, and then being exposed to so many energies at the same time is not very healthy for them. And I think that you as a parent, you know what kind of kid you have. You might have a super extrovert child that wants to play with a lot of people all the time. Fantastic. And you might have a highly sensitive kid who doesn't want to see anyone, and maybe only another adult. Fantastic. We're all different. And the point is that when you're homeschooling or unschooling, you can really listen to your own child's need when it comes to socialization, and help your kid, support your kid in creating the context that works best for him or her. I would also like to mention that homeschooling and unschooling doesn't necessarily take place at home. I really have a big problem with the word homeschooling, specifically if we talk about Scandinavia. In general, we will say hemskola or even hemundervisa, which is even worse to me because it's home teaching, like as if we were teaching our kids, because not necessarily. And it gives this wrong idea that we have our kids at home and that's the only place where they are and they're not allowed to see other people, instead of realizing that socialization happens everywhere and all the time. You can socialize with a plumber, you can socialize with the mailman, you can socialize when you go to the store to get groceries, you can socialize with your parents. You don't have to have like a big group of people who will be there, all the time. You don't have to. And I can say that because I've been observing my son, and my son has Asperger's. If you followed me, you know this from before. And he was never big on socializing. And yes, I think that when we started unschooling 4 years ago, this was my biggest concern. This was my biggest fear. I was never worried that he wouldn't learn enough, but I was a bit concerned about how he would socialize. Now it's been 4 years and he has grown so much in this aspect. It's really amazing. And I mean, most of the time he hangs out with me or with his dad, but it's a question of personality, but also a question of maturity. Your brain does develop a lot during these years, and it matures. And I have seen him go from not being able to look someone in the eye, not being able to say hello or to give thanks, and now I think it's really hard for anyone to realize that he has Asperger's, because he has adapted all these different ways. And I think that many times, actually, I'm really happy that he's not going to school. He's 14, and he just doesn't miss out on that awful socialization that you have in school when you're a teen, where kids are really cruel to each other because they don't have another kind of context. They don't have any good role models that can show them how to be kind and caring and loving to each other. And to see that my kid doesn't have to be exposed to that kind of hard mentality, that cruelty, makes it possible for him to develop in a completely different way. He copies me, and he copies his dad, and he copies a lot of other adults, loving and caring adults that use nonviolent communication, that are validating emotions. So that's the kind of socialization skills he is developing. And so I'm saying all this because I really think that it is a big fear amongst unschoolers and homeschoolers, or people that are considering this kind of road. But you shouldn't worry so much about it, because you don't have to have people your age in order to develop socializing skills. On the contrary, sometimes it's a lot better having old people around, or older people rather. And sometimes it's really cool to have younger people too. And if you have siblings, then fine, that's good too, Homeschooling and unschooling doesn't mean that we lock our kids up in a house or in an apartment and that they're just cut off from reality. On the contrary, most of the time it means that they're actually participating in life so much more actively than kids that go to school, which is a really artificial context. We have to remember this. So breathe in, breathe out. You can let go of your fears of your kids not getting enough socialization.